Having the employees is one of my favorite parts, actually. Like, and this kind of goes back to soccer coaching, and my role within the team structure was to build the team, like build the community, so that everybody was pulling in the same direction. And that's very much how I approach my role with the business too. Is like, this is a team, and if everybody is doing their job and a little bit of somebody else's, then you're putting yourself in the best position for success.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you've kind of always been like comfortable being a leader and doing that kind of stuff, whereas I'm kind of like more of a lone wolf, you know. Like, that's why even just being in a band, having like the 3 other people you have to like get to show up to a place and deal with all their bullshit. Like, you know, like I'm just learning. It's like, just let me do it alone. And if it's great, I did it. And if it sucks, it's like, I just drive home. I can drive home alone, having failed. That's fine. Like, you know, I think it's just harder for me to do that. Yeah, to lead. Like, leading like 50 people just sounds like my worst nightmare. But I mean, somebody needs to do that. So that's cool that you have that skill and you're interested in that.
There's 2 different things here too, between leading and coaching. Right? Those are 2 different things. Leading is like, I am in charge and you are following me, right? Coaching is pushing people in that direction, right? Like helping them along to get to the same place. Like, we've got an end destination, and the coach is kind of encouraging people along to get to that end, that destination. Whereas a leader is like, I'm going to grab you and bring you along with me. And I'm going to just say, you're almost there. You're almost there. Yeah. As opposed to being like, here are tools to allow you to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's, in my head, that I approach both conversations, both jobs in the same way. The beauty of the ice cream business, or business as opposed to coaching a sports team, is you don't have the competition at the end, right? There's so much drama added in to the game, like the like test of the game, that you don't have with business. So it's actually a lot easier to build that team.
Isn't the competition kind of always there though? Like, I mean, I guess it's more for some than others, but it's like, you know, if you're just like a restaurant, like, in one sense, it's like, let's all work together to make Asheville an awesome place for restaurants. But in another place, it's like people are going to choose like which restaurant they go to. So it does seem like there's some healthy competition there, where it's like, there's all these great restaurants. So if yours sucks, like, you know, people aren't going to go there.
Sure. Yeah. To keep along with the analogy though, in the coaching game, like when you have the game from an athletic standpoint, you have the result. Like when you're talking about the competition within a business industry, that's choices for people to make, right? We can't control what other people do, so we shouldn't put our energy into trying to control that. We should put our energy into creating something that they want to come to in the first place. And we do that through, well, there's several different areas, but a big part of the marketing of the business is the customer or the hop experience, the experience that we're providing for everybody on both sides of the counter. And if we make sure that we're all pulling in the same direction toward that experience for everybody involved, then that's going to reflect in the choices that people make about us versus someone else as a business.
Yeah, we've talked about that, like having your kind of framework or your core values, the things you come back to, because when you're just responding, you can easily get just like reacting to every little thing, and then you lose sight of your big picture. And that's kind of how I've been like doing comedy, is like I'm kind of just like, what made, like, just try to get on your show. I'll try to get on your show. But now I'm trying to really kind of step back and have some sort of like a framework like that too. You mentioned marketing. That's something I've never purchased an ad in Meta, and that's something I'm prepared to do. I actually have my first show coming up in Charlotte at the Evening Muse in January, and I'm gonna I've got them to give me that room, and I'm gonna try to like get people to come see me there through ads. And if they don't, I'll have to eat the cost of it, But I think that some of that's okay too, But like trying to actually treat it like an investment with a plan, and you have like branding and marketing and stuff like that. I've kind of done everything except that. You know what I mean? Like I've kind of still been an employee of places that book a comedy show. And I'm trying to I want to talk to more like business. You're my first I guess business owner. We're all kind of business owners, but you're that's kind of like definitely you're like legit business owner.
Entrepreneur is I feel like we're all entrepreneurs, but then having this entity that we're relying on for our sole source of income that we're responsible for other people getting through. Yeah, it's like a different layer of it. Yeah,
like you track numbers and there's like taxes involved and there's strategy, like this idea that you do have to invest. Like that's like, I think most artists that I know aren't willing to actually like invest, be like, I'm going to invest like a few $100s in promoting this show. And it might, the worst case is it didn't work and I lost a few $100, but like, hopefully I learned something and I can tweak my plan, but hopefully I made more than I put in back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't really, like entrepreneurs, like comedians and musicians, I don't really ever hear them talking about that.
Yeah, you don't have a whole lot of profit and loss conversations with your comedian friends.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like I've done everything except that. So now I'm kind of like, I had a guy on last week who came to town. This is why I'm like in this mode. Like usually I'm talking about whatever, like other conversations I had here. This guy that's, he came from Reno, Nevada, and he like finds a small black box theater like at the Diana Wortham, and he goes like, my ideal audience is 50 to 100 people, $25 tickets. How much would it cost me to rent that space? If nobody comes, I eat that cost, And then he runs like ads that show him and what his brand is and his comedy. And I went to the show and there was people there, and he pulled it off, and everyone in that room had come to see him. Like they had seen him and they were excited to see him. And that blew my mind because every show I've done is like live comedians you've never heard of. And then, you understand the difference?
Yeah.
Like it was actually his audience. And he was like, yeah, I'm in my 50s. I don't have the rest of my life to just, try to be part of other people's thing. I'm going to build my own thing. And I think like older, wiser people in their 40s and 50s have this different mentality about that. Like a lot of people in their 20s and 30s are like great artists, but they don't understand, or they're not even interested in talking about this. It's almost like you're a sellout if you're like talking about branding and marketing. And that's something, a stigma. I'm just being like, hey, I'm going to be dead in like a few more decades. Like, why don't we try some of this shit too, Because I want to be up there just doing my art, but I think, having these conversations could be helpful.
Yeah, and there's ways to do it that are not involving selling out, right? Like that there are a lot of businesses that are reputable and doing things in a good way that are uplifting other people as well as taking care of themselves, right? And we think about that. When we first started, we just gave everything away, right? Like Ashley and I were the last ones in line for anything, and we just gave it all away. And
it's like 15, how long has it been?
17 years.
17 years.
So, and that was good because it gave us a way to approach how we wanted to do business. It like let us play by being last in line. We were focusing on everybody else first so that we could get them situated. And it allowed us to play a lot of different ways that we wouldn't have been able to play if we were only focused on ourselves first. But as time went on, we recognized that we can do so much more if the finances are tight. This concept of our business and how we approach it, and we want to make it a place for people to grow on both sides of the counter, is only going to have more of a positive impact if we get our finances right. And I think that when we recognized that, it took away the fear of selling out.
Yeah. How many years in was that?
It was pretty much when the pandemic hit.
Okay. Wow. So that's
yeah. We were just flying by the seat of our pants for a decade.
Yeah. And I mean, that's interesting because I mean, that's kind of how I'm trying to approach this is like, you don't just try it in the beginning. And then like, I feel like so many people go like, well, that didn't work. I tried for a year. It's like, no, you're going to fail. You're going to make a lot of dumb mistakes at first, or not even dumb mistakes, but you're going to look back at like things you did 10 years ago with what you know now and be like, damn, I could do that so much better.
Yeah.
But you have to like see that as a motivation and not as a like, I should quit. You know, there's some, that like, flipping that narrative into your brain. I feel like a lot of people, you can use that as like a defeatist narrative.
Yeah.
But really it's like, oh, this is great. Look how much I've evolved.
Yeah.
Look how much I've learned.
Yeah. Experience comes from making those mistakes. And that, if in the big picture is honing in your foundation, your core values, which I feel like for regardless of what you're doing, that's the key to the success of it is knowing that the decisions that you're making are justified by satisfying the core value of what your purpose is.
Where did you get the core values concept? Is it something you came up with, or did you read it from another business?
We had a business coach reach out to us who was a customer of ours for a long time, and he offered to help us. I think he could see that there was like something there that was kind of stringing it all together in that first decade. And this would have been about 2015 or 2016. And he saw also that it was too chaotic. It was too scattered. It wasn't concise. And he ran us through several meetings where we had to get this stuff out of our heads and onto paper. And when I say this stuff, I mean, the purpose of our business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so easy to lose sight of that. Like, why am I doing this every day?
Right.
So how long is that list of core values? Like, what is it, like 5 things? Is it like pages?
For us, there's the ethos, which is what we call it, and that has a surface level, and then it has a foundational level. And so the surface level is kind of, for people who are newer to the business, they see the surface level one, which is like providing a fun, enjoyable, and memorable experience, right? Fun, delicious, and memorable experience. That's the surface level thing. We want to create that. And we have to have that because we really like, that's the direct interaction that you have. And then the foundational part, which is creating a platform that encourages the most positive growth or impact, that's really what's supporting the surface level.
That's like all the community stuff underneath. Like there's almost like the user experience. It's almost like in software, like there'd be like the UI layer that you click on and you touch would be the top part.
Yep.
But then there's like the databases and the server and stuff. You don't necessarily see that every time you're looking at an ice cream cone. But
without it, what happens to the user experience?
Yeah, right. That's like the root of the plant. So
right.
It's just going to die without that. Yeah, it's interesting. Trying to apply things like that. Like I'm trying to publicly like say like I'm starting to think about comedy this way. I spent 10 years. I mean, I spent 30 years just getting up and being like, here's my songs, my music, here's my thing. But then trying to get to this phase of like, yeah, what is it? Like, I mean, I want people to have a great time. I think my brand is like, I always said my like ideal audience would be like a trucker dude that loves his guns sitting next to a trans person, sitting next to a black nerd. And they're all like, I want it to be for everyone. Like, I don't want it to be like, those idiots over there don't know that we're right. That's a big, what I hear everyone saying. So there's that. And then also like, I want to buy myself, my goal was to have like 50 headlining shows in the next year. And like right now I can get a headlining show maybe like once a month. And what that means is I get like 45 minutes to an hour. Whereas if you're driving to Charlotte to do a 10-minute spot, and then driving here to do a 10, stitching those together to get the time, like, the 10,000 hour rule. So I'm trying to like create a situation where I can get 50 hours where it's like my show, you came for me. And, so I guess that's kind of a core like maybe that's more like foundational. Like I am trying to build a way that I can, even if I could break even for the year and get like 50 hours headlining, that's like one of the goals. But then ultimately it's like, bring people together. Like things are too divisive, maybe that's more the foundational thing.
That is more of I think
core values.
It's also a characteristic of you as a comedian that'll separate you from your peers, right? Like not necessarily that specific idea, but an idea like that. We were talking about the ethos, right? Which is surface level foundation, but then there's the core values that support that make the thing happen, the foundation happen. It's like the concrete that you're pouring in. And we have about 7 or 8 of those. And one of them is sustainability, which most often is thought of as environmental sustainability, but really it's sustainability of self. And
like not burning out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or becoming bitter and being like.
And in the context of the foundational core value, if we are squeezing people for everything that they have, they can't grow. We are not creating a platform that encourages growth, right? We're going to hinder their progress forward.
Yeah, I've worked places like that. Just squeeze them, throw them in the trash, get the next ones, you know?
And that's a model that people use. And it's unfortunate, especially when you're talking about younger people in the ice cream industry, right?
Yeah.
Like that's hard to think of a 16-year-old at their first job being squeezed like that, right? Nobody wants to do that.
That's the perfect time. They're not street smart yet. You know? They haven't been around the block. I mean, that's when it happened to me was my first jobs, you know? I mean, some of them were great though. But yeah, that's when you're most susceptible. Yeah,
you can be taken advantage of for sure, and we want to show people that it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
In just the first moments of you talking about this as a business kind of idea, I feel like one thing to determine is your break even. So how much do you need to return to break even?
Yeah.
And there's some intangibles in there that are subjective that only you can determine, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of already I look at the last 10 years and I'm already just kind of barely breaking even where I've gotten a few gigs recently that pay like a few $100 with a hotel, and I'm like, okay, I ate at Chipotle once, I come home with some money. But then there's other ones where it's like, I mean, we're so exploited, like Don't Tell Comedy and things like that. Like they've figured out how to run ads and get people there, and then they give comedians like $40-$50, and you drove hours and back, so you're kind of breaking even, and they're sort of keeping that, Mm-hmm. But they've got butts in the chairs just from targeting them through social media ads. So why am I going between them? So, I'm already spending time every day working on my jokes and trying to get booked. So I don't even really consider that more costs. I love it. I'm already doing that. So really a break even point would be something like the guy I talked to last week is you find places outside of big cities, a smaller market like Waynesville or Brevard or Hendersonville, a place, and you go is there a small black box theater where they do plays here that has 50 to 100 people? How much does it cost me to just rent that out for the night? What is the worst case? I just eat that cost, So that might be I don't know, a few $100s or something. And then how much do I want to budget for ads? And I still haven't run a single ad, so this is something I need to learn. But maybe you budget $100 for ads, so you're kind of in a few hundred. Worst case, you eat all that. No one buys a ticket. It doesn't even happen. But if you're selling $25 a ticket, you sell 10 tickets, that's $250. You sell 20 tickets, that's $500. So at that point, you've kind of got your costs,
Mm-hmm.
I have an opening comedian or two that I want to pay well. So really you can kind of look at it that way, where it's all right, if I can get 25 people there, I didn't lose any money. But I also look at it this is a college course I'm creating for myself in how to do all this stuff. You can go take a course somewhere where somebody stands up and tells you this, and you might pay for that. But I see that as its own payment too. Even if I did the first 3 and lost money, I'd be I'm a different person on the other side of that. I'm a guy that ran ads, has real failures and scars on me and the humiliations of that, in the worst case, that I can use that for the next thing instead of just sitting around talking about how I'm going to do things, which is a lot of what artists do.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question, but I'm trying to break it into actual spreadsheet,
sure.
Goals. We talk about goals. It's measurable shit. It's not most artists are they'll just be someone that comes to town and I open for them and they see how great I am and they take me on the road and then I'm famous. It's no, you got to have measurable, as unsexy as that might sound to some people, try to break it down into logic.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at an average P&L, right? You have income at the top.
What's a P&L?
Profit and loss statement.
Okay. Right.
So if you look at,
I knew I was just for the listeners.
if you look at a P&L, you have income at the top, and you have expenses underneath that. Some of them are fixed, some of them are variable. For us, we have the cost of making ice cream, and then we have our rent and utilities and things like that are the fixed costs. And then you subtract those two and you have either profit or you have a loss, right? And those inform decisions for how you move forward. And then those decisions are going to be filtered through your ethos and core values to make it so that it's not just like you could do anything that you possibly want.
Like a filter.
Right. And that, thinking about your shows, like to put it in the context of that black box theater, the places, the locations that you would pick, the cities that you would pick would be ones that would have that spread of your your target audience, where you would have not just a bunch of, liberal people in this one place, or not just a bunch of conservative people or whatever, that it would be places where you have that mix. And so you would seek out those places and find those venues as a result of your wanting to satisfy, to make people of that group laugh. And then you have, you're tailoring your ads and your promotions to those people to attract them to come.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of, and I know my material already is that. To me, it's like, I live in Asheville with all these gay liberals, and also I have brothers-in-law that love guns and hunting, and that's kind of like the act sort of is that, like I always say, like when I go out to the country, to the room where everybody went to church, like I am the gayest liberal they've ever seen with these glasses. But then when I go to the odd in West Asheville, they're like, is he a Republican? Like I've noticed I don't. So that's kind of how I'm trying to like market it as like, because I noticed the guy that came last week, it was crazy. I was supposed to go to Cherokee Casino and do 5 nights and get a hotel and get paid a bunch at another Comedy Zone. And then that whole place closed down. There's this crazy scandal that happened. Lost all those gigs. And then this guy that I was like, I wanted to interview him, have him on the podcast, but I'll be at Cherokee. And then I ended up talking to him instead. And now I'm like, maybe that could be the thing, that like, instead of just going to some other place where people went there to gamble and there's also comedy you kind of give a shit about. Like he's like, no, I'm doing my own show. So I'm starting to kind of try to think about it that way, where I have this material and I'm trying to see if I can like figure out what it is in the ad that would make it seem like a brand or a thing. Cause his is like, I got a bipolar dad and my brother killed himself. It's like, these are dark jokes about suicide. And, it's not to make fun of it or belittle it. It's because those of us that have been through it need to laugh about it. And he got people, 50 plus people in there that were like, we're here for this, He's not going up in some brewery where people are like, I like jokes, and then he starts hitting them with dark shit. You know what I mean? He's like said, I'm not for everyone. This is my brand. And so that's kind of part of it too, is this whole like I'm middle-aged, middle America. I'm in the middle. Like I'm trying to kind of start with like what the brand is, and come up with some ads that are those types of jokes. And then I think probably a year from now, if I haven't been crushed by this attempt, it'll be different. Like it'll be more refined. But you got to have some initial pitch. This is just me dreaming out loud, and then the market's gonna hopefully tighten that, because people are gonna say I'll spend money on this or I won't, and then you do have to. Money is like. It's like people think it's dirty as an artist, but it's a real way that people show if they give a shit or not,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's really interesting to think about, again, from the core value standpoint, the impact that you're having on the people who are coming to the show, right? There's, if that's something that's driving you, as opposed to it being more of a self-serving thing where it's for you to be up on stage in front of the most number of people possible, because the most number of people are going to hear you talk about you or whatever, it changes it to think about your audience and the impact that you're having on them. And so
yeah,
I could imagine how either cathartic or emotional hearing someone who has dealt with suicide in the family and things like that, somebody who hasn't had a release for that, they go to a comedy show where somebody's talking about that in a way that allows them to like let some of it go. Like that's going to be way more impactful for those 50 people than the 2 or 3 people that you might actually reach at an audience of 1,000 or 200 that's at a random venue.
Yeah, that's your audience.
Right.
He came here, had never been here before, doing stand-up a few years, and found his people here. And I was
Yeah.
in the room going, holy shit, this has expanded my mind. Every show I've done, it's like live heads telling jokes. And you're like, oh, I liked that one, and they just forget about you.
Yeah, you're
But
like no different than anybody else up on stage.
It's just a general slice of audience. And I think that's been good because it's so hard. There's like the brewery with like the loud vats, dogs running by. No one even knows who you are or came for you, and you're like trying to just like. So if you land one, it's like really means something. But now it's like trying to be like this is my audience that's here. I'd rather have 20 people that are like, we came to see Ryan Cox. We already know his name and we liked what we saw, than perform for 300 people, opening at the Orange Peel for somebody else that they came for, and they're like, yeah, we got warmed up and never followed them, because that's usually how it is. Like you get these big gigs at the Orange Peel, it's like I don't usually follow the opener and like go see them again. It's this kind of illusion that that's actually done something for you. I'd rather have 20 people that came from me. I get their email and maybe they come back next year than 1,000 people who forget about me.
Yeah, you kind of probably have to do that first before you can, like, you have to build your resume, right? And you can't build a resume. I mean, probably you can by just starting with your 20 people and only talking to them. But you have to figure out who those 20 people are in the first place, right? And you can't figure that out until you start getting out there and playing around. So I think that, to kind of put it back into context of where we were as business owners, is like those first few years, we just needed to do all kinds of stuff and figure out, where all of the dust settles. And then once the dust settles, then we can kind of really focus our energy into this one specific place.
When you say do all kinds of stuff, you mean like go to a festival and set up a booth, or like or try a new flavor, or open a new location?
Yeah,
all of the above?
All of the above. I mean, the open the new location is probably less of it. That was more, I feel like, intentional. But yeah, which festivals we set up at now are way more specific than the ones that we were setting up at the first place. And what, like these give back nights that we'll do in the store, or philanthropic efforts that we'll put out there, we're all over the place to begin with. And it was good, but now we've honed that in a little bit more on uplifting the organization.
Your P&L sheet was on probably the wrong side.
Yeah, for sure. And now, with the core values in place, we're uplifting organizations that are providing opportunities for people in general, but in particular kids. So if we put our philanthropic efforts into that, then it's going to have a bigger impact than if we spread it out all over the place, right? We figured out who through bouncing around,
finding your audience, finding your people,
right? And it's not a coincidence that the organizations that uplift kids also have kids in their organization that want to eat ice cream, right? But that isn't the driving force behind it. It's the core values that are driving that.
All kids want to eat ice cream too. So
I mean, it's definitely more statistically that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. So are you experienced with purchasing ads, meta ads? Like, have you had?
Because I do all the social media and have been for a really long time, I mean, since like 2009. I don't really do a whole lot. The most that I've done is boosting a post about like our seasonal cakes or something like that.
And when you click that boost button, which I still haven't done, and I want to do soon, you get forms and stuff where you decide people's ages and what they're into. And
yep. Yeah.
Stuff.
You can control the location, the radius of the sphere around the location, the age range, the gender. You can control the purpose, like what what your goal of the ad is. You can change. You can have them click on a link. You can have them send you messages, like direct messages. You can do it for likes if that's your thing, right? So kind of exposure as opposed to a direct thing. So there's an action item involved that you get to select.
Yeah, and one of those could be like, I'm trying to get people to an event for a thing, I imagine. And then after you do that, have you found like there's been some kind of analytics or something where you can make sense of whether it worked or not, or is it just
they provide all kinds of analytics, and that
can almost be overwhelming.
And as an owner, if I were to outsource the social media, I would want those analytics to determine if this investment in a social media person was worthwhile or in the ad. I personally don't really care too much about the analytics, and with the ads that we have run, which are minimal, I almost prefer not to look at them.
Yeah.
I'm only participating in the game to diversify ourselves just enough.
Yeah, and it's different because I guess what I'm trying to do is like literally sell a ticket for a night in a place.
Yeah,
so it's like,
a lot, yeah.
And then you can kind of see every day. So it's like each one would be like an ad run for like, we're in Charlotte, we're in Brevard, because I've done different shows that people have done this at, and I feel like it's not done well that much. But it's like, in my mind, it's like, never before have you had the tools to kind of go like, everybody's sitting around scrolling. I'm coming to your place. Let me try to get you, I mean, before it would have been like when we were kids, like running ads on TV. You remember like the guy's like, come on down to Crazy Ryan's. It was just on, for whoever, you don't even know who's watching it. Remember the local commercials?
Yeah. Yes. Like, somebody's standing there like they're almost made out of cardboard. Like,
yeah.
Hi, I'm the owner of this mattress company.
Yeah. And you're just throwing those into the void, and how much overhead, like how much that must have cost, you couldn't be like, I'm going to spend 50 to 100 on that. I'm sure that was like a lot, and then you just have to Key of Greer, I mean, that'll be in my mind forever. Every time we drive by Greer, we're like, Key of Greer. So
I never watch anything and I know the Key of Greer.
Yeah. It's like bad local commercials. So now it's like, I want to do my own. It's like this podcast or anything. Like you can do all your own. If we wanted to get this conversation out so anyone in the world could hear it, like, I mean, I don't know what that you would have had to like try to get like CBS to pick you as one of their 12 things or whatever, NPR or something. I mean, now it's like you can, but everyone can do it. So you're competing with every single thing. So how do you get like a focused strategy? And I have to accept that like it's going to start just like you guys started. I'm going to be broadly doing a lot of wasteful things, and that's okay. Like I really don't think you can avoid that. You're going to really, you probably, even if you build it right, you're going to suffer the most losses the first year. It's like starting any career. My first software job sucked, and then I've got a really good one now, but it's like, you're not going to, it's going to suck at first, probably. And that's, I think it's good to have that expectation, because otherwise you might be like, I've been trying for 6 months and no one cares. It's like, it's only been 6 months, dude. You got to run the marathon of it.
Yeah. A lot of times in business, they say that it takes you 3 years to start turning a profit. So you have 3 years of being in the red before you finally turn it around.
And then you see places that open up and then they close 8 months later, and it's like, well, they obviously, I mean, I'll try. It's like, you probably didn't have a very good plan. You know what I mean? Like, if you close before a year is up, like, you didn't accept that. You were like, not me, though.
Yeah.
And there is, I think we're all a little like, but not my dream. There's that delusion.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of need delusion to even take the risk.
Yeah, it's called the entrepreneurial spirit.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
That's when you make it past the first year, it's called the entrepreneurial spirit. If you it's delusion until you make it past a certain period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a comedy podcast, so we call it like delusional narcissists or something. But it's meant to be like, I don't really feel that way, but it's like roasting yourself,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's hard. Like I could not. It is probably delusion at some point, but you hone in on it, and that like.
You need delusion. Like if you like in comedy, it's like if you knew how much you sucked and how long you're gonna suck in the beginning, like you would never. Yeah. You have to kind of be like, I'm good, I'm better than or you need that. But then at some point, you're gonna have to turn the corner and be like, all right, I'm no longer blind, and I can see that like I need to. I've only just begun this journey.
Yeah, it is, I mean, we've known each other for a long time, and you've seen us go through kind of these ups and downs with the business, right? And where we don't hang out for years at a time, even. Because we're just so bogged down by the business that we can't get out of it. But we still go, like we still do it. And I think that's a delusional component of is like, why are we doing this? And we believe in it. We believe in that there's something bigger to it, right? There's something of value to it. It's worth all of that effort and all that time. And for some people, it's, simply just that they get to be in charge is enough to, the alternative, thinking about the alternative is working for someone else.
Somebody else sucks.
So that effort.
But it's less stressful in many ways.
Oh, yeah. There's no question about that.
Paycheck steady.
Yeah. I mean, getting a phone call at midnight saying, hey, the freezer's not working. We're about to lose all of this ice cream. Like, that is hard, especially on top of a whole bunch of other stuff, right?
Greg came up to my door today, like literally all the way up to the front door, being like, okay, yeah, and that's a crazy thing that happened out of nowhere, but I got to go doing the podcast now, click by. And then he's like, it's been crazy. I'm like, every time we hang out, it's like that. And that's cool, but it's like, it's the reality of it.
It is, yeah.
There's just always something.
And it is,
but you must like it. I mean, it's like, it's like you are very engaged. You seem like you're really engaged. You're not like, I got to do this work that somebody else said to do, which I don't even really, my heart's not in it. Feels like your heart's in all of it.
Yeah, that is definitely true.
Sense of purpose. Like, isn't that kind of what life's about, really?
Yeah. And I was talking with Ashley about it this morning, actually, is like, what is this pursuit of the business is about creating enjoyment for us and our family and our community. And that if we're not doing it for that, like really when you zoom all the way out, if we're not doing it for that, then what is the purpose, right? Like that's not an existential crisis, but it needs to be there in those moments where things are the hardest. Is like, is this really creating a scenario that is like allowing us to enjoy our lives, our little glimpse of a life that is in this existence, right?
It should feel good net.
Right.
It should feel good over the year because, I mean, that's kind of like, I don't know, I count all my podcasts and sets, like, I just did 1,000 comedy sets. That was my goal. And like, the reason I count them is because it takes the pressure off each one when you look at the whole. It's like, so there are like some nights after some sets I would be like, this is not worth it. I really feel like this is ruining my life. But when I look at all of it, like by far it was amazing. And even the ones that sucked the most, like I wouldn't want those not to be there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the whole year. So even though there might be like a day, I think it's fine to have a day where you're like, I've made a huge mistake. I want out. You know, I hate running this business. You remember High Fidelity with John Cusack? Where he's just like, I just want to like join a Virgin Megastore or whatever, things that don't even exist anymore, like trying to have it be your own thing. But then at the end of the year, you add up, it's like what's the loss sheet called again?
Profit and loss.
Yeah, it's like, well, let's call those numbers like how much you enjoyed every day on a scale from 1 to 10, or I guess positive and negative numbers. And then at the end of the year, you're like, yeah, even though there were some days that were like max negative, like I netted a positive, you know? I mean, it's the hero's journey, and there's no movie or story or book where there's not like dark times. Yeah. So it's just, if it's all that over like 3 years in a row, then it might be time to pack it up. Yeah. It's like, this has sucked for a while. It's like a relationship. You're like, I think we need to break up. This shit's been bad for forever.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it, is it's like an unhealthy relationship at a certain point, or it can become that, right? And if you're just feeding this unhealthy relationship and it is not producing health, then it's probably time to call it a
we
day.
can do that. We can do that with things in our life where there is the brain will just kind of, I'm familiar with this, so I keep doing it. So that's cool about this, is like the values and the stuff, the core values. You've built a system that tries to make sure that you have checkpoints to where that you don't just go on autopilot for too long and steer, you not realize you've steered into the Bermuda Triangle or some, island of Kong or whatever. Like, oh, geez. I should have checked the compass a little bit more. Now we're all going to die.
I mean, that is like as good an analogy as you can put on the pursuit of business, is that if you don't check the compass, or if you don't have a compass in the first place, you might end up in that.
It's like foggy. And
Yeah.
it's just like night, and you're just like, the compass is smashed, and you could just hear like some like beasts like, ooh.
Unless because of that delusional entrepreneurial spirit, that's where you find your most joy.
Yeah. I mean, and then there is the kind of like, when you come back, when you die and are born again, you know, it's like when you get to that place, like I guess rock bottom or whatever, you know, like sometimes that can be like, you have to get like, that can be helpful too. If you can come out of it, you know, like you can get to a place like even artistically where you're like, I hate all my jokes. I hate all my songs. And then incinerate that version of yourself and then come back anew. Like, so sometimes you can pull that off. I think you only get so many of those, you know, and that depends on the person. Like you can only die and be born again so many times. Like I don't even know if 9 lives that's too many.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have any
unless
points
you're
in your
really
business
rich, I guess.
You're like, well, yeah, if you're, that's, yeah. But do you have any points where you feel like there's like a, you know, you had to like incinerate the old version of you?
I think that we definitely had to do some pretty deep digging when the pandemic hit, because we were exposed. Our business was exposed for not having that foundation, and we had to sort it out really quickly. So we had to rebuild. I wouldn't say it's an incinerate the previous version. More of the whole thing collapsed, and we had to make the decision of whether we were going to rebuild or not. And
incinerate's easier for me because it's like I just drive up and you got the speakers and the stuff, and I go in and talk. I mean, but you got like buildings, employees, like deliveries of cream or whatever. I don't know. You know, chocolate chips. I mean, it's like
all of that.
It is crazy that you can manage all that overhead in your mind. I mean, that's kind of like makes me think like my little operation's like pretty low stakes. I should take more bold and risky moves, you know. Because you were like you were working at the university till like pretty recently too, right? So like during all this, you had like a side hustle where you were like a math tutor. And how long has it been since that?
It was when the hurricane hit.
Okay. Wow. So everything was like yeah.
But that provided some balance in my personal world, which was why I kept on doing it.
How many hours a week were you doing math tutoring?
It was about 5 to 10.
Okay, so that's just
not a lot.
Like,
yeah.
You miss it?
I do. Yeah, I miss that. That math headspace, which is pretty unique, and you know, the problem solving in ways that are fun, fun for me.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that. There's rarely people that come on here and they have like a love for math. My friend Paige, she is a musician. She's like, I think like the way we're talking about business and the sheets, you can kind of tell where we know logic. You know, like math is like it's right or it's wrong. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. You know, that's hard.
Yeah.
Like did you get the right answer? No, you didn't. You're 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Like that's a mentality that maybe can serve you when you're kind of feeling things about the community and the business. You have that you can fall back on, you know, logic.
Yeah. I think with math, you see a lot of people who are good at math or inclined at math or enjoy math that are also extremely creative. And yes, there is that right answer at the end of the when you're taking a test, right? You have the right answer or the not. But there's a million ways to get there. And that is where the creative side comes out in math. And in problem solving in general, right? Like you're given a set of circumstances, which in math terms are symbols and things like that, right? That you're allowed to manipulate to get to the end result, which is in math, there's a single end result.
Which is just so beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's so little of that in life.
Yep. Yeah. I do miss the tutoring side of things, but it was one of those unhealthy relationship moments where I think it had seen it had run its course. It was not necessarily contributing in a positive way. It was for me personally, but in the bigger picture of everything else that was going on, especially after the hurricane, it was the first thing to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's nice for things to kind of live and die. I mean, I think that's, like we were talking about being in the fog and just, the compass, like I think it's nice for things to be done, I wouldn't want to, I think it's bad for your brain to do the same thing forever, so your business is growing and changing. You did that. I mean, how long did you do that? It was like
22 years.
Good Lord. I mean, that's a good chunk of time.
Yeah. It was one of those moments where I was like looking at the person I was tutoring and I was like, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. And it was like, I guess I do enjoy this, and it's, a part of my life.
Yeah, I know we're both like interested in AI too, and that's kind of an interesting thing in this space too. Like, I think math, maybe deterministic is the word that you'd use, so like thinking about things in that way. But then I like doing, is that the right side of the brain? I think the left side is the logical side. Is it the deterministic side? I think it's that. And then the other side's like, we're all one, and creativity and songs and poems just come to me. And then you have this thing now that you can, collaborate with on like your business ideas or stuff like that. It's like a bunch of chips underneath it all, but it doesn't really seem that deterministic. You can ask it a thing and it'll just say different stuff on different days and hallucinate. But there is math underneath it. It's a very interesting thing.
Yeah. I am not putting all of my eggs in the AI basket, but am trying to use it as a tool to make my life more sustainable for me, so that I'm not burnt out, is kind of where I see it as its contribution to where I'm at. Only a couple times have I gone down a more like theoretical rabbit hole with it, as opposed to it just being like, I need to do this document. Can you help me?
Yeah, just logic, like the stuff that's like, and then you can check it. I mean, but it's not going to go to an event and smile at people and scoop stuff. I mean, right. I don't think it's ever going to do that. It's not going to stand up in a room full of people and read them and connect with them with jokes. But it can help you, like, search for venues that are a certain size, or give me a first draft of an email and then I'll punch it up so it feels more like me.
Yeah.
Or help me, so it's like, I don't like doing that stuff anyway. I don't like typing in, find theaters and clicking on. That's kind of drudgery. So it's like it's an assistant that can go get you things that you still need human taste and human checkpoints for now. But I don't know if you know like about agents and stuff. Like I've been listening to, I'm in the web developer world, so I've been like there's agentic is like the word everybody's using now. It used to be like models, but now it's like agents that it's crazy. It's the same word as the Matrix too. But they're like independently calling their own models and talking to each other and stuff. So they're trying to get it to where it's more, you need less human checkpoints and it can do more stuff. Like basically, somebody like me is using it as a co-pilot for coding, but I have to check in and fix it. And they're like aggressively trying to get it to where it's just like, it just can go for like 30 hours and not make a mistake. Those are the benchmarks they're trying for. It's kind of unknown if a wall's going to be hit or not, but all the podcasts I listen to are like, there's no walls. It's just going to go maybe not even like exponential, but vertical. Like, but these are also people who they've made their whole lives and their investments in that. So of course they're going to say that. So maybe it's like a skewed bias about how much it's going to change things.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like when you are trying to determine where to fall on something that you're not totally confident in, is usually somewhere in the middle, right? Like, or I am sort of observing more than I am researching, and I feel like you've done more of the researching side, and it's interesting to hear what the research kind of tells, like this agent concept, and it makes a lot of sense if you think about it from a functionality standpoint, that there would be some like extra layer of checks and balances in there, but Yeah, I like to think of it as just something to play with. Like it's a tool that's gonna help give me more space to enjoy what I'm doing. I haven't really gotten much deeper than that with it.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to. It's kind of, for me, it's like, our whole, my whole career and our whole, like all of our income for the family is sort of built on software development.
Yeah.
And so I kind of started using it, playing around. I didn't even use it till we went out to Chai Pani earlier this year, and you were like, oh, and I'm like, maybe I will give it a go.
That,
I mean, and this is like 6 to 8 months ago.
Yeah.
But I think these last 6 to 8 months have been, it's just, I'm not an early adopter. I didn't get a cell phone or smartphone until like way late. But now I'm like, okay, well, this is, really a very big part of what my career is going to look like in the next few years. And also, that's one of the reasons I'm interested in looking at comedy and trying to make investments in treating it like running ads and going to a place, because that's my skill. That's, I think, as AI automates away white-collar jobs more and more, like working a calendar or a spreadsheet, we are kind of more and more hungry to go in a room and feel things. And that comes back to that like core value of like, it's okay to love your guns and be trans. There's jokes here for everyone. No one's dumb or no one's wrong. It's that kind of connection is, for whatever comes next, like learning how to like run ads and connect with people in real rooms, I think, is going to be more and more valuable, because just being logical and being right and writing code is like, it can already do so much of that stuff. Does that make sense? Is that a coherent thought?
Yeah,
like,
no, it is.
Like Emily's like really into carpentry and stuff, so she can do like all this stuff. So I'm like, in a year or two, we might need to be like running ads that are like, let us come to your house and build you some bookshelves, and I'll have to figure that out. So it's like, oh, it's a good thing I figured that out with comedy, how to like get to a person so I can be in the room with you and do a real thing that's not, there's not going to be a drone that can do like fix your toilet or tell you jokes anytime soon. But there might be a bot that can make your whole web app for you like next year. Seriously. Yeah. I don't know, but maybe.
No, it's definitely, for sure. That there are those AI apps where you just tell it what you want and it builds the app for you, and then you can start using it.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, you just imagine it and then it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the whole, it's so beautiful. It's so terrifying and it's so beautiful. You just imagine it, say it, and then it exists. Yeah. I mean, what the hell? Like, this is insane from even just our childhood. I mean, we're talking about the guy on the ads who's like, come on down to Crazy Rides. Like, so there's just, you just think of your idea and just get it there. And it's like, it's kind of destabilizing the culture, but it's also like amazing and beautiful and creates all this connection.
Yeah. I remember typing 60 words a minute in computer class in middle school. I know it was even elementary school. And it's like, this is crazy. Like, I'm typing on a keyboard and I can get 60 words a minute.
Yeah. What a great skill. I bet you still use that every day, right?
Yeah. It's interesting for sure to think about. But as you were talking about, Emily and the carpentry and you and the comedy and like the running ads to get more business is a business idea, right? Like, and I think it's okay to approach it in that way for both of those things. Now, if you're going to eventually be replaced, which is kind of, the thing that is possible. We know that it's not going to be total replacement, right? But there'd be fewer and fewer humans required to moderate this thing that's doing its thing, that's doing what it's going to do. You need to lean more on some other parts of life that are more like the tangibles.
And those parts of life are more what I want to do anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe on the other side of this is that incinerate the old me to ashes moment. It's like, I wrote code. You told me in English what you wanted. I wrote these very specific code, had to get every like semicolon right to tell the chips to compile it down to machine code so it could happen. And then now, like, no one's hiring juniors because you can already, like, those mundane tasks, you can just tell a bot to do it and it can do it quick. So I see that trend, and I don't think we're going to hit a wall that, that part of me is gone. But then maybe you're just supervising agents and doing checks on them, but I've still been through the 20 years of like soldering chips and doing all the things. So I do think I'm going to have more perspective and be in more of a position to leverage that technology than somebody that hasn't had those experiences. But it's still just like, you just have to keep evolving. You can't, like even like 3 years ago, it was like, get a computer science degree, you'll be set for life. Now it's like, whoa, okay, what the hell? We thought it was going to be self-driving cars. How did my job get like more on the chopping block than that? Like it's so unpredictable.
Yeah. The comedy, carpentry, ice cream, like these are all, they could be anything. I feel like the key is not that specific thing. It is more about the zooming out and enjoyment. Like I don't get to talk to many people about this bigger picture, like zooming out, right? Like everything is so insignificant in the universe, right?
Which is comforting.
I mean, it is that none of this stuff really actually matters, right?
No, it's a blink of an eye.
Right.
No one will ever care.
The difference between whether you follow the AI research or not is like totally insignificant. If it brings you joy and helps you to bring joy to others, then do it. And if it doesn't, then think about it. And is it an unhealthy relationship? And I don't know, that's the more of where I'm going with everything outside of business, outside of that, is like, I want to make sure that whatever I have left in my life is I'm going to be able to enjoy it as much as I possibly can. I want to travel some. I want to keep growing and learning because I feel like that's going to only give me a better perspective to make sure that I'm having a greater chance of enjoyment in my life. And then also in the life of my kids, I want to set them up. I want them to enjoy themselves. I don't want them to not enjoy themselves. And, thinking even beyond them, right? Like, how can we instill this concept of enjoyment within the construct of what we're a part of in the world? Like, the capitalist society is something that we're just landed in the middle of. We aren't necessarily proponents of it, but we're in it. We kind of have to either play by the rules or not. And I feel like at this point, if you play by the rules, you're probably going to give yourself a greater chance of being happy. But it's just, I think, to go back to the point of what I was saying, it doesn't matter which one you choose. It's that you choose something and that it is chosen because it gives you enjoyment.
And then you have to reconcile that with capitalism. And I think that's like kind of the theme of this conversation is like, I want to tell my jokes and write my songs and be crazy, but I do acknowledge that there's a market there.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be like, you're a sellout and you're not a true artist. It's like, no. That's part of the game too, And I think that's really successful comedians, from what I understand, actually do understand that. Like, you have to build relationships, you have to make investments, take losses. Like, that's part of the game,
Yeah.
And like you said, like, I don't want there to be a revolution. I'm not trying to burn capitalism to the ground. I'm just trying to operate within it.
Yeah. I think the enjoyment factor is what it comes back to, right? We both talked about that Infinity documentary, the documentary on
which
Infinity.
I only watched the first few minutes of, but I love the concept of it.
Yeah, and there was a moment in there where all these astrophysicists and theoretical mathematicians and stuff like that, they were like, so what keeps you from feeling insignificant? And all of them said love, which is pretty, like, we talk about enjoyment. We talk about trying to make sure that our kids have something to enjoy, right? And there's this thing, this love that is so important, and the reason to do things. It's like the purpose is love, and it's really fascinating to dissect that and to feel it in your heart. And I think that there's something in there for, to be in that room with those people who came specifically to see you and to hear you talk about these things, that there's love on both sides, right? That's sort of getting that room to almost pulse with it, right? And the impact that it's going to have on you and on them, that they'll take out into the world with them, is spreading that. And I think if you do spread love, if you make a point to do the things that you enjoy, to do the things that other people will enjoy, make that conscious effort to spread love, then more people will feel it. And there's, in this insignificant life that we have that is fleeting, there's at least like a peak in it, that is making it all worthwhile.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's how I feel when I see a great performance. Like, I don't get off on like angry art as much as at all really anymore. That time in my life has passed. And yeah, it's like, that's why people are talking smack about the Beatles, but if you look at their catalog, all the songs are like, love is all you need, love is all there is. Like, it is kind of that I think that is, you said enjoyment, but then like love is kind of like maybe a little more like holistic enjoyment, whereas like, it's not just like shoot your dopamine off and then feel bad later. Love is more of like a long-term investment and enjoyment, because it's like the love you make is equal to the love you take is equal to the love you make. There's so many like Beatles lines that like I'm like, it's just timeless. It transcends culture and time.
Yeah. Enjoyment can happen with only one individual. Love as a underpinning of enjoyment kind of is innately more than one.
Yeah, you're like a vessel for a greater thing.
Yeah, it's plural.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the cool thing about like, having kids and going through that. I mean, of all the like burn yourself to the ashes and new me, I mean, that's like the big one, as I'm sure it is for anyone, just those first years of like, what? I have to do all this, and then you rebuild yourself from that, and you're trying to be out in the world like selling ice cream or doing comedy, and it's like it's kind of hard sometimes to relate to people that don't have kids or didn't stick around for it, because it's like there's just love built into, there's self-sacrifice, which I think is the Venn diagram between putting others before yourself and love is like pretty shaded, you know what I mean? Like yeah, it's interesting. I like the idea that you want to enjoying yourself and living your dream actually is good for the people around you. Mm-hmm. Like, that's something that the last clip I posted with Jordan was like that there is this part of me that's like, if I was a good dad, I wouldn't be out here trying to get these people to listen to me. I should just be home. But it's like, no. It's good for my kids. It's good for my marriage, for me to be pursuing my dream and doing the thing that like lights me up and makes me most alive. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think if we all did that more, we'd be better off, But it's also scary. Yeah. Putting yourself, like, loving is like scary, trying to put yourself out there, because you get hurt, a lot of times when you do it. You can get taken advantage of or humiliated, and it's like life can kind of grind you down. You see people that like aren't as willing to be open in that way. Yeah. I mean, we're lucky. We have like a lot of love at home and in our lives, but there's a lot of lonely dudes out there.
Yeah, it's always good to acknowledge our privilege in these situations, for sure.
We're white. Yeah. I do realize I'm very privileged.
Which, how instead of just feeling guilty about that, right? Like, let's put it to use,
right?
And spread more love because we are in a position to, right? Like, we're sort of obligated, not sort of, we definitely are obligated to others because of that. And I don't want to be ashamed of that or push it aside or try and ignore it, right? I want to own that. And I feel like if those people who have privilege spend more energy on owning that and using that for more love, right, then it's only going to help. So Yeah, that's privilege and all that is a whole other topic. But I think, for you and me, I think where we are on common ground is that we want to have that positive impact on others as a result of our upbringing or of our place or the things that got us here, the privilege that we have. And it's important to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I mean, I want to create this space for me where I get hours up there and I get to do it in different cities for different people. But yeah, I mean, my comedy is definitely like, it's not listen up, idiots. It's like, I'm so grateful you're here, and I think we need to like have a moment together. And I shit on myself more, I lean more in the stories on like what an idiot I am than like, I hate comedy that's like smarter than the audience. Like, I hate comedy that like talks down to people. Most good comedy doesn't. I mean, that's like a rare thing. Usually you kind of need to paint yourself a bit more as a clown than you actually are, just to get the idea. You're kind of throwing yourself on the sword a little bit, because like when you're like, here's this thing I did that was dumb, people kind of loosen up, but if you're like up there like looking at him being all smart, they're almost like, oh no, is he going to try to make me look dumb or something? So there's kind of like that sort of sense of love is like sort of built in. Or I just think of it as humility,
Yeah.
And you're always like one set away from just bombing your ass off too. It's never, anytime you've had like a few good ones in a row, you're like, it's coming. So the humility is like for me, love and humility, that's like a really big thing too, that like I really didn't embrace humility till like this decade. Like when I was starting out off my career, if somebody'd be like, you wrote that code wrong, and there's people watching, I'd be like, no, I didn't. But I would immediately try to like be defensive. But now it's like, oh yeah, good call, cool. I'm secure enough to kind of like be called out and not be fazed by it. And like that's what I see now. Like humility is power. When I see like a leader that's humble and willing to fail, I'm like, I'm gonna follow that guy.
Yeah, if you think about it in terms of your kids too, right? Like if you're like, they will humble you immediately, right? And show you where your ego is ruling the thing, right? And if you let your ego continue to rule in that situation, you're not going to parent in the way that you probably want to.
Yeah, every day.
Right.
And I tell them all the time, you're right, I was wrong that time.
Yeah.
I never heard that from my parents growing up.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. It's just the culture.
Yeah.
We have more information now.
Yeah. I would much rather admit to them that I made a mistake and apologize than try and let my ego take over in that situation.
And sometimes, like, when my kids will come out later after they yelled and be like, I'm sorry that I yelled at you, I was wrong. And I'm like, yes, like, we're doing that.
Yeah.
We're like, that's one thing that I've done. We're like evolving as a family system, because we didn't do that growing up. It was like, you just don't talk about it again,
Yeah. Yeah.
Humility.
I don't know whether this makes it in the cut, but we've been sort of dissecting deeper and deeper in this conversation, and like love is, we talked about enjoyment, and then deeper than enjoyment is love, and then deeper than love is humility, right? So it's like subatomic particles and quarks and things like that, right? And the more you dissect these concepts, the more you get to the root of it, which can be helpful, I think, in achieving that perspective and rebuilding. Like if you're starting with just those base elements like humility, and you work on building love with humility, and you work on building enjoyment for you and your other, your community with love builds enjoyment for everybody in that community, then all of a sudden there's, I don't know, like this glowing light at the end of it, right? Which is sort of a better purpose, a better existence in our fleeting moments that we have.
Yeah, I love it. The next thing for me in that line of things you described is infinity. I wanted to come back to that because I think kind of like the biggest and smallest thing are the same. There's just like, sometimes I'll try these really absurd bits and I'll just post myself on TikTok. I don't even go like Instagram where I know people, but I had this bit, I was like, why can't you divide by 0? Like what happens? Like, what are they trying to keep us from doing? Like, you can't divide by 0. Like, I have zero. What did I say? Like I have 5 apples. I divide them into 0 groups. Done. And I mean, I don't try to be rage baity. You know, I know that that's still one group, but like, it's pretty hilarious the number of people that start trying to like correct me, and then I'm like, and then they'll say something wrong. They'll like accidentally get a thing wrong. Like, you can't divide 0 by 5. I'm like, I'm not dividing 0 by 5. I'm 5 by 0. And like, that's not what I meant. And it's just like, and I'm like, this is getting a little, you know, it's feeling a little mean, but it's like, I don't know, messing with nerds about math seems kind of fun. But underneath that, I do have this like, you know, the computers are binary, AI is binary. Logic, you know, like the idea that there's good and evil, that's a binary concept. But really, I think it's one thing with 2 sides. But for language and for communicating, we need to like make things binary. And it's really interesting that computers are all 0s and 1s. So if you divide by numbers that approach infinity, wait, okay, what? 0. Sorry, I got that backwards. Like you divide by, you know, 0.1, 0.01, the lower... The closer you get to 0, the bigger the outcome, right? So essentially divided by 0 is like infinity, right?
The
Like
answer is infinity, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So, but then like, I've listened to some podcasts about it. Apparently you enter a realm where like, if you go backwards and try to check it, it logically means all numbers are the same. Like there's, I don't really have the language for it, but it's almost like dividing by infinity, dividing by 0 is like, maybe like a portal to like a world of oneness, which is like, they say if you have a stroke and the side of your brain, the logical left side of your brain starts to bleed, it's almost like you're having an acid trip or something where you don't distinguish between, you have this like sense of oneness, which is like almost like death or something like that. But in order to like sit here and have a conversation in English and like do my job, like everything has to be like good or evil, left or right, plus or minus, you know, but that's kind of an illusion. And dividing by 0 is like I don't know if this is coherent.
No, I think I'm with you.
This is the kind of thing is I want to try to make funny, but it's so just abstract and absurd. But if there's anyone that might be able to have any clue what I'm trying to get at,
I've been listening to this book called Existential Physics, and it talks about a lot of this and like free will and like what you can say scientifically and what you can't say scientifically about stuff like this. And I think when you get into these singularities where there's the infinity concept that comes in, what it creates is that all possible scenarios are likely, and it becomes a probability thing where it's the probability of the situation is, it's not whether it can or can't happen. Like it's not that it goes away or it exists. It's like every single, once you get into these singularities, every single possible scenario is fair game.
And isn't that like quarks? Aren't they just like, they're maybe in this universe but not? Isn't that, are those the particles that only have a probability? Like matter really only has the probability to be here, like all the little pieces that make you up.
I don't know the math
kind of disappearing and reappearing
that well, but I I think that when you get into the quantum realm, it becomes a lot more in probability. I think the wave function, which is defining a lot of that, is there's a lot of probability involved with that. I'm kind of stretching my personal math level with all of that. But yeah, I think as you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the quantum realm, it becomes more about probabilities. And then there's these places where yeah, literally every single possible scenario, like a version of me that has a foot on my ear that, you know, is living on Jupiter, is possible. And it becomes a statistics thing or a probability thing.
It's like the multiverse thing that's in like popular in the Marvel universe and stuff like that. Do you want some water?
I've got.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, it kind of gets down to like, what is the nature of reality? You know.
Yeah.
We've gone from like the business, enjoyment, love, infinity, and then it's just kind of like, what is, you know?
Yeah, and I think where I've settled with that is, and kind of reinforced by listening to this existential physics audiobook, is that I'm just going to focus on the love. Like I can't get into the too much below that.
Like it's almost not it doesn't improve the quality of your life to go
becomes
too
an unhealthy
far.
relationship.
Yeah, it can be kind of like that movie Pi or something where there's a drill going through your brain or something. That's fair.
We talked about this with AI too, right? Like there's you can keep going with it. You can keep going as far as you want, and you know, hypothesizing every situation, and every single situation is possible that you could ever think of, or anybody could ever think of. Every single one of those situations is possible. But it becomes an unhealthy thing for me.
It's destabilizing
to think about that.
Yeah, you can almost get to a point where like nothing means anything. Yeah. So why even like get up out of bed or whatever? But I almost think of it like it's like a thought experiment, or like Einstein kind of thing, where it's like you can take these journeys to like the edge of your mind, and then you can come back, and it's like almost like going into the desert, you know, on a like a walkabout or a journey, you know, a mental journey to go to the edge of, but then you do have to come back and like have dinner with your family and be like, yeah, this is the real stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and like any travel, any journey, perspective is what you gain from that. And that lends itself to enjoyment, you know, which is allowing you to have more love, right? That's as far as I've gotten with trying to keep on the right side of all of the infinity, and right side for me, right? So I keep coming back to that. Like that thought experiment is about perspective, which is about enjoyment, which is about love.
Can you say what love is, or is it just better to just leave it as that word?
I haven't really gotten that far.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a feeling in your body or something, or a sense of, at the end of the day, of like, I'm more full than I, like how you know it's love or not love, you know?
Yeah. I cry often, and it's usually happy.
Yeah, like you're moved. You're not like scraped your knee.
Right. And that is actually pain. Yeah, I totally fine with pain.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't make me want to cry. But seeing someone being vulnerable and putting themselves out there, or this is totally an Asheville thing to say. At Leaf, I was at a drag performance where there was this singer-songwriter named Flamey Grant that was just singing her absolute heart out on stage, and I cried the entire time. And it was them being vulnerable, but also their lyrics were just really special. Like I had my kid with me, and that was, you know, watching them experience that was really important.
I love it. That's love. There it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So that,
it's not a math equation.
No.
It's like,
and it's different for me, and it's different for you, right? Like
I think that's pretty close for me too. It's like a moment of togetherness or oneness. Like you just feel moved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because its language is like, you know, you can put a word on like screwdriver, but to put a word on love is like, it's, you know, that's tricky, a concept like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need a word for it, but it's like, it's not really, it's not something that can be named, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to try. This is like a thought experiment itself to just try to even name it. And I think I like the way you, like, here's a story of when I knew it was happening.
Yeah. And I think to go into that just even a little bit deeper is like, I was emotional because I was thinking about what this was doing for that person that was actually singing the songs. I was emotional because I was thinking about the people in the audience who needed to hear it.
Yeah, it's a person that's like kind of a marginalized demographic to a person that, I don't know if that was part of it for you or not.
For sure. Yeah. And it was, you know, I'm always going to choke up when I see somebody being their authentic selves no matter what, because I feel like that's a beautiful thing, and it moves me to see that. But yeah, there's so many different layers to that specific moment with the people that we were in the room with, that I don't think anybody walked away from that feeling less than they were before. Like they were feeling better. they were feeling uplifted. And
You don't think there's that one person that was like, trans shouldn't even be a thing?
there may have been.
Because I think that even that person sometimes can be like the biggest win later.
Yeah.
When it's like they haven't even, like, we shouldn't let trans people even be up there. And then that person like is mad for like a year. And then like 3 years later, somebody in their family transitions. And then they're like, well, this isn't the first time I've been hit with this. You know what I mean? Like even sometimes that can be like,
For sure, yeah.
like that's why when people are like, that's like my whole like togetherness thing, when people are like, well, you get the fuck out of here if you don't like it. It's like, no, like let them sit there. If they're not being violent, like that could be a seed for later where that person, we're creating a space where they can go through their anger about it and then incinerate that version of themselves to ashes where they don't allow trans to be a thing. And then later they're like having a great Christmas with their trans nephew like 5 years from now. And this was the first part of it.
Yeah. I think that when somebody is up there being completely vulnerable like that, and they were intentionally trying to uplift other people with their experience through their music, I think it's hard. It would be challenging for someone not to take something away from that.
Yeah, it's what religion and faith are supposed to be, you know, and it is for like, it's probably the default one is that, you know, but now it's kind of like you can have that. I think that's just as legitimate as going and listen to a preacher talk about Jesus, you know. It's like the same thing, but also back to my like everybody's included thing, like that's fine if you want to go do it with Jesus in church and there's nobody gay there. That's also fine, you know. We're all just trying to get to that like God, I mean, infinity, love, God, these are all these like words that are kind of, I think, the same thing. You know, there's that feeling of being connected. And you should never really shit on anybody else's version of that. Unless they're like doing hate crimes or something. Obviously, there is a line. But I think generally most people are just kind of, like, we all kind of want that, you know. We're all kind of like that. Even that night where you had that experience is kind of fleeting, you know. You might be like upset in traffic the next day and you're like trying to, I need to like hold on to that or get to that moment of connection. Like we all want that, but it can be kind of few and far between. You know, there's a lot of drudgery and chores you got to do in your week so you can have a payoff like that.
Right.
I don't know if I'm changing the subject.
No, I
this is very free form.
I think everybody has their own relationship with that, with infinity, with religion, with love.
I've even started saying God, and that's a word that can really upset people, but it's just like, I just think it's all of us, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's all of us and all of time. It doesn't, no particular religion, just like, you know?
Yeah.
But that word, people, I mean, love is pretty much like, no, we're all down with, but you can all, and I think that's horrible that word can be kind of like upsetting to people, you know?
Yeah. I have a hard time not associating a lot of really terrible things with that word.
We grew up in the South. There was a lot of hateful speech that was rhetoric that was used with the word God attached to it, and that's kind of a shame, you know.
Yeah,
is that why?
Yeah, I think that there's just so much hate that's been spread
but
as
then
a result
to let them
of that
steal
word.
that word, it's like that's kind of my thing. It's like that belongs to all of us, you know. Like, but I don't say it. I don't say it on stage and stuff because I know I can feel. People are like, well, where's this going?
I think it's one of those that the word is really insignificant. What is to not be downplayed or taken away from it is the people's relationship with it, and that's very personal. Like that, you sometimes
more private than public.
You sometimes will gather with people who share the same idea, but really, it is at the end of the day your personal like thing.
Yeah. It's kind of like the word prayer is like that too. That can be a very polarizing word, but for me it's like meditation or mantra. Like that's the same concept. It's like, what is your self-talk? And it is a private thing. Like, but it's like, what are the things you repeat to yourself, you know, to connect with, you know, your core values. And I think, you know, prayer is kind of like the classic word for that. But again, it's got all this dogma attached to it and maybe trauma attached to it, unfortunately, because people have like used that word to do ugly things. But really it's like, what is your self-talk? What is like, do you have things that you repeat to yourself when you're like playing soccer, or just, I don't know if you have any like rituals to try to like reset your neuro.
When I'm on my way to a soccer game, I'm constantly telling myself, just keep it simple and make sure you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
That's on the way to a soccer game. I think I just had the thought where to go.
Other self-talk that you use, not in the way to soccer games.
It was something else with religion and that relationship.
Prayer, meditation, mantras.
Yes. So, like where that becomes sticky, or where I feel like it's a limiting factor. Sometimes religion can be a limiting factor. And this is probably as far as I'm willing to talk about with religion. But if you use that as
finding the edge,
a barrier to keep from progressing, like, oh, I believe in this thing, so I don't need to dig any deeper into meaning, right?
Yeah.
Like I've found meaning because I am religious, I have God, I have whatever. So I don't need to go any further. I don't need to keep trying in that regard. I don't need to keep learning or keep experiencing new things. It can hold people back.
Yeah, I mean, religion is kind of like somebody else gave you the menu or something too. I think that religions are like, we've got a prophet, we got the books, we'll teach you how to. It's not finding your own. It's almost like this metaphor of like, let me get on your show and you talk to the venue. I'm like, get out of my way, middle person. I want to just bring my place to the room. Like, have you read Siddhartha? You know that book?
I haven't.
Oh, it's so good. It's kind of like this book about guy that's he's like meditating and wondering, and really he's like comes from a rich family, but he gives it all up and he wants to find like the meaning of love and life and all this stuff, like and he like meets the Jesus. They don't say it's Jesus, but there's the guy that's like everyone's following him and he's truly like divine and we all got to go see him. And like Siddhartha goes and he sees Jesus and everybody's like following him, and he meets Jesus and like looks into his eyes and he's like, I can see that this guy like has done it. He's like connected with God and he's divine, but I'm not going to follow him. I'm not going to be like, have him be between me and God. Like I'm going to find my own way. You know what I mean? And that I kind of see religion that way too, is like, whatever all this stuff means, I want it to be my journey, not like, ordering off the menu at the McDonald's, like give me a number 1 or a number 3, I'll take like Christianity or Islam or whatever, that's a bad metaphor. I'm not comparing that to religion. It gets a little loose, there's moments you can pull out, but yeah, I don't know. So yeah, religion, but then like, I don't know. I think like faith is a word that's a little more, to me, it's like this realm of like infinity, zero, faith, mantra. Like to me, it's like they're all kind of, it's like there's different methodologies and words, but they're all trying to get at the same thing that like the Beatles songs were about, or, or the thing that you felt at that show. Like that's kind of what we're all trying to, like a great movie is trying to make you feel the way you felt at the show at home, like that unnameable realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we taking it as far as we can go?
I think
we are at time too. We're at
we've
been talking for 90 minutes, but I kind of like to just take it all the way to.
I don't know if I have enough. I've not put enough thought into my own relationship with a God or something similar, or maybe I have, and it just is kind of all the core value stuff. It's like,
yeah,
it's the reason why you do things, right?
Yeah,
and
I haven't really either, so I hope it doesn't come across like at the end of this I'm going to be like, and you should come to my church with me or something like that. Like, what? Like, it's interesting that we've never even like. Every one of these conversations is different. I had no idea it was going to end on this, and it's just, I don't know. It was like businesses, and then like enjoy. We got to enjoyment, and that was the gateway. I think once I started trying to describe my divide by zero, that was like, all right, let's see if we can get like really abstract. Like, I'm going to try to say a thing to you I don't even really know how to say or how to think. I'm like going to try to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do like the fact that infinity can like sort of leads to that every single scenario is possible.
Yeah.
Like literally, like infinity is enormous, right? Like so big. But every single scenario is possible in infinity.
Yeah.
And that that can be interpreted as like nothing is important because like it's nothing special, or it can be interpreted as this is actually so special because of the number of different other options there are or possibilities there are. That makes this even more special.
And that's what I'm saying. Both are the same thing.
Yeah.
That's like
yeah, no, it's exactly,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
So it's different interpretation of this fact.
It's the yin and yang. Yeah, it's like both all opposites are the same thing, but our feeble minds need to divide it into a way that we can communicate about.
Right.
But in that moment where you feel that thing at the show, like for me, it's like it does become one. Like that person's pain and the beautiful connection. It's like that's the unnameable thing that we're all trying to get at. Yeah.
Which can be classed as a religious experience.
Yeah. I mean, religion is like, there's a guy and
transcending,
some books. Yeah. Transcendence. I love that word. I love transcendence.
Yeah. Transcending experience.
Yeah.
There's something bigger going on there.
Yeah. And again, like these words it's not like screwdriver or like sailboat. Like these are words that you just start using, and it's like whatever love is for anybody's different. So it's like tricky, you know. It's tricky, but it's fun to try. It's like the attempt. It's like sometimes you do all your tight jokes that you worked, and then sometimes you get up. I did like a kava bar set where I did 40 minutes of like, I don't even know if these are ideas, but let's try. And this, like the second half of this conversation to me, it felt like that, like kind of like, let's even see if we can make some coherency out of these really nebulous things like that. The attempt is kind of like what's enjoyable, you know, not that you get to the answer, but it's like, it's fun to try to like, it's like the Buddhist, you know, sand paintings that just get swept away. You're trying to like sketch get at it by like attempting and failing to put words on things that are inherently unnameable.
Right. They're only reinforcing your own personal perspective on, or your personal interpretation of it, right? That is...
I don't know. I think you've expanded mine, though. I think like I'll walk away with this being like thinking about some of the things you said, and it will be bigger, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Same. Which is why you have these conversations, right? Like we can't just wander into the unknown and expect to know how it's supposed to look or what we're supposed to take from it. And so through these conversations, you learn, and you learn that we aren't thinking the same thing all the time. I feel like is a takeaway from you and I think the same thing a lot of the time. But this is one where it's like, yeah, interesting. I'm on a totally different plane on this thing than you are.
Yeah. And it's interesting too that I feel like this stuff that we got to at the end is like with your business and with my comedy, we both are trying to create something like that. I think your story about that show is like the one I keep coming back to. That was like definitely it, you know. Yeah. The thing that you're trying to get close, have as much of that as you can. And when it's your ego up there, it's like you're still creating that in the room, like that, trying to do as much of that before you're dead seems like pretty solid, you know?
Yeah. I think it's core value worthy. And that then makes the things that happen on a day-to-day have more purpose and more of a path forward, as opposed to it just like blindly going into the fog.
Yeah, that's like your compass is like the needle's trying to point towards that thing. Mm-hmm. And then so when you have to make a decision about like how many straws should I order or whatever the thing is, you know, it's a bad example.
No, but, it's there. It's definitely there.
Should I drive there for this gig with the gas and lose a little? Like you can come back to that, try to have a compass. And sometimes you miscalculate and you're like, got that wrong, but that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with having my compass be rooted in that moment at that show and everything that it entailed.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's wrap up on that note. That seems good.
Cool.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Likewise.